Hi, I'm Amy and this is A Star Reads, and I'm going to be doing the Milky Way Book Tag today. And I'm really excited about this one because I was tagged by Kim from Expedition Through Pages, and I love her channel. She has a wonderful TBR game, and one thing that makes her channel really unique is that she picks a lot of books that are either nonfiction or STEM, like science, technology, engineering, and math. So even if they're not nonfiction, they have a focus that is in STEM. So I really like that. I like seeing what kind of books she comes up with so I can get suggestions from her. And she tagged me for this because I'm participating in the X Bookclub. And I think this tag was created by Hannah from Handpicked Blog, who's the other organizer of the X Bookclub. So the theme for this round of the X Bookclub is space, which makes this tag perfect. I thank you for tagging me in this, Kim. If you haven't had a chance to check out her channel, absolutely do so. Also check out Hannah's channel. She has a great channel as well, and I will put all their information in the description box below. So let's just get started because these are really fun questions. I thought this was very creative. Question number 1, Mercury, a book with themes of loneliness. And I feel like the perfect book for this would be 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which I read fairly recently. I buddy read it with Liz from For Booking Out Loud, and I loved that book. I really enjoyed it. It was really strange and quirky. It centers around this concept of solitude. These people are surrounded by their family and their friends, but in a lot of ways they're completely alone, and they live these lives where they're alone despite being surrounded by each other. This definitely has this theme of loneliness and how that shapes the trajectory of all their lives within this family line. Question number 2, Venus, a book set in a hot climate. And I picked kind of a strange one for this one, but I went with Unbroken, a World War II story of survival, resilience, and redemption by Laura Hillenbrand. And this is actually about Louis Zamperini, who was a lieutenant in World War II, and he was part of this flying team. And then their bomber actually crashed into the ocean, and they were stuck at sea for like 100 days or something, like one of the longest periods of time anybody has survived being stuck at sea. And they were out in the sun. They didn't have any protection from the sun, and of course this caused severe burns and dehydration, a whole bunch of horrible physical problems because they were exposed to the elements. I thought it's not a fun story, but it is a story where a hot climate affected the people involved. Question number 3, Earth, a book with multiple perspectives. And for this one, I'm going with 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This has perspectives from 5 of the 6 people within this group that are doing this heist. And the only person you don't actually hear from is Wylan, which I thought was kind of strange for the first book. I'm not sure if you hear about him in the second book, Crooked Kingdom, because I haven't read it yet, but I loved 6 of Crows. And you get all these different perspectives, and it makes the story, to me, more of a rich story. Question number 4, Mars, a book that had potential but didn't deliver. I'm gonna go with A Walk in the Woods, Rediscovering America on the Appalachian Trail by Bill Bryson. I've never talked about this book, I don't think, on this channel before, and I have feelings about this book, and I don't know if you haven't read it. I'm not gonna give anything away if you haven't, but let me tell you about the ending. No, I'm not gonna tell you about it, but I am gonna say that I was really unsatisfied with the ending of this book. And granted, it's nonfiction, so obviously there's nothing I can do about it. But it was so frustrating for me. It was a book that many people loved, and it had potential because I enjoyed it almost all the way through. But I got thrown by the ending quite a bit. So yeah, that's the book that had potential but did not deliver for me. Question number 5, Jupiter, a big chonk that you enjoyed, because that Jupiter is a big chonk. Another book that I've never talked about on this channel before is Lonesome Dove by Larry Mcmurtry, and I really love this book. I was surprised I loved it so much because it's more of a Western style book. I got this as a gift from my friend Lizzie when I moved from California to Austin, Texas. It was cute because it was a book that she loved a lot, but because I was moving to Texas, she gave it to me. She also gave me like little corn cob holders that had cowboy boots on them and stuff like that. I really ended up loving the characters Colin McRae so much, and it was really long. It was at least 900 pages. I think it might be 1,000 something. Question number 6, Saturn, a book that gets a lot of attention that you enjoyed. So I'm gonna go with Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier because Even though this is a classic, I find that when people on BookTube talk about classics, there are two main ones they talk about. They talk about Picture of Dorian Gray and they talk about Rebecca. I can absolutely agree on Rebecca. I loved it. I thought it was a fascinating story. I really loved the characters in there and the development of it. And I haven't read it in a while, so I'm hoping to get to it again and see if I still feel the same way I did at the time that I first read it. But I just remember loving it. And so if you are looking for a classic that I think that most people tend to enjoy, and so you probably will as well, Rebecca's one to pick up. Question number 7, Uranus. Uranus. Oops. Question number 7, Uranus. A book with an embarrassing title that you've read. I couldn't find anything that was really fun. I wanted to find something super cute and super silly, but I didn't really have anything like that. I'm gonna go with Sex at Dawn, The Prehistoric Origins of Modern Sexuality by Christopher Ryan. This book really talks a lot about how polyamorism and the fact that modern sexuality is leaning more towards polyamorism sort of has roots in prehistoric man, and we are sort of conditioned to be polyamorous, at least based off Christopher Ryan's own thoughts and ideas and research. The reason I say that this is an embarrassing title is because, you know, if you're reading this out in public, it's not necessarily that you'd be embarrassed that you're reading it, but they always say that people's eyes are drawn to the word sex. So if you're sitting there reading Sex at Dawn, people will probably stare at your book because they'll see sex out of the corner of their eye and be like, sex, what? And then notice your book and then notice you. So it could be embarrassing because you might get a bit of attention because of it. Question number 8, Neptune, a book that gives you chills. I'm gonna go with a book that I really loved. Granted, it could use a reread because I read it back in 2012. So do I still love this book as much as I did back then? I'm not sure. But I remember it giving me chills because I had very strong visceral feelings about this book and it made me cry. I felt so emotionally compelled by this book when I read it. And it's The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. I loved it so much. And this is one of those books that I recommend to everybody. I think everybody should read it, and yet I've recommended it to a couple people who hated it and did not understand why I enjoyed it. So I'm a little more hesitant to recommend it as freely as I recommended it before, but I just think this book is so beautiful and I can't wait to reread it because I want to see if it still feels the same way to me now as it did when I read it back in 2012. So that is a book that gave me chills. And question number 9, Pluto, a book that doesn't get enough credit. Poor Pluto. Yeah, I grew up with Pluto being a planet, and then it wasn't. And it's just a sad little, what is it, a planetoid now? I don't remember what it is. It's just sad. So let's talk about a book that I thought was amazing that I don't think is given enough credit. And that's The Silence of Bones by June Hur. It has gotten some notice, but I just feel like, considering how much I loved it, I thought it was so well written, and I think June Hur is a really great up-and-coming writer. I didn't think that it got enough recognition. I think that more people should be talking about this book and reading it, because I just think it's fantastic. I think it's a beautifully done historical fiction that has really great mystery elements to it. It's got a lot of twists and turns. The characters are really wonderful. Some of the most beautiful writing that I feel I have read. So if you haven't had a chance to read The Silence of Bones, pick it up. Pick it up and let's get the word out because it deserves a little more credit. So I'm gonna tag 3 channels. First, I'm gonna tag Margaret Pinard, and this is a new channel that I'm just getting to know and I'm finding her very charming. I really like her humor and the way she presents herself in her videos, and I can't wait to watch more of her videos and see what she's all about because I think she's very creative and I see that she has a huge range of books that she's interested in reading. Second, I'd like to tag Surafazzo from A Time to Share Books. I think that she does amazing reviews. When she talks about the books she's reviewing, she goes into a lot of depth and she gives great perspective. And I think that she makes me want to read a lot more broadly because she has a great variety, especially of literary fiction. I do love literary fiction, and I find that I can get a lot of great recommendations from her. And finally, I'd like to tag Rana Najjar because she has a very unique perspective when it comes to books. She's very honest about the books she does and does not like, which I appreciate. And she has this great new series that I'm really, really enjoying. She's reading the top books from her favorite booktubers, which I know a lot of people do, but she's actually grading them and ranking them so she can find out which booktuber has the closest taste to hers, and I find that fascinating. I'm really enjoying seeing who she likes and seeing what books she agrees and doesn't agree with. If you have any feelings about any of these books, let me know in the comment section down below, because I definitely tried to get some books on here that I haven't talked about before. I tend to find that sometimes with these tags, I end up using the same book examples. So hopefully you got some interesting new suggestions. And if you like this video, click the like button and subscribe now so that you can see more tags, because I'm trying to whip through them. I'm gonna get those tags out. And I promise I will be getting to my March nonfiction review. I tried today several times and the words don't work. Things in the brain, talking about anything in depth, trying to give good reviews was not happening today. So I figured, okay, I'll do a tag. It's not as painful. Thank you so much for watching.